Hello, my name is Januar. My number 3319029. I will answer the assignment. Number one is think about the character in the story of the boy who could keep the secret and then retell the story. Okay, for number one, the character, the first character is boy and the trait brave and able to keep secret. And for the evidence, he slapped her face so hard and I can't tell it to anybody, returned the boy, till it comes true. And the second character is his mother. The trait is grumpy and can keep secret. And the evidence for the story, I will beat you till you tell me. And his mother, who never could keep anything from her neighbor. And next, the third character is the king. The trait kind and forgiving. And the evidence, will you be my son? Asked the king. And well, if you want him so much, you can have him. And the fourth, the daughter of the meager king. The trait, she is a beautiful and kind-hearted. For the evidence, I have a daughter who is like the morning star, and every morning the princess passed him food. And the next, the fifth character is king of Magyars. The trait is less smart and give up easily. The evidence, he is far too stupid ever to have done. And the next, the sixth character is Sultan. This is an antagonist. The evidence is Sultan was very angry that both his plots to get possession of Hungary. And the last or the seventh character is the witch. The trait is evil and vile. The evidence, you must get him here and kill him. So next we move to the second assignment, Retell. Once upon a time, there was a poor widow who had a son. Her son had a scabbard that could grow to follow his growing body. He also get a sword sticking out of the ground, which was initially difficult to put into his scabbard, but over time it got easier and finally fit. It pleased the boy until one day his mother asked him something and had time to scold him. Even so, he kept secret from anyone, including his own mother. He ran and cried into the garden, and at the time the sword rotated and made a hole. When people were about to catch it, they would be cut, but not with the child just sticking out his head, and then the sword entered into the scabbard. When the boy was crying, the king heard him and told his messenger to ask why he was crying. And then his messenger reported it to the king. Because of his pity, the king asked the boy to stay in the palace and asked his mother's permission. And then they went to the palace. On the way, the king asked why the boy was crying. He said he was beaten by his mother because he didn't want to tell his dream. And the king said, would he also not tell his dream to the king? That until the dream really comes true. Arriving at the palace, the boy was greeted by the king's daughters. The king's three daughters took that the boy would tell them about his dream, but the boy threatened to beat anyone who forced him to tell his dream. This made the king angry a little and threw him out of the palace. Finally, the boy was taken by the servant out of the king's palace until he was 17 years old. One day, one of the king's youngest daughters was bored and went to the servant's house and found a handsome man who used to play with him. Then he asked about the secret of his dream, but he was beaten by the man as he promised. The girl went to complain to her father. The king was very angry and arrested him to be executed on the gallows. But when he was about to be executed, the king of the Magyars arrived, who asked him to release the boy to be bought by the Magyar king, who would persuade him to tell the secret the boy had. But again, the boy still doesn't want to tell about his secret. Arriving at Magyar kingdom, he was greeted by a very beautiful king's daughter, and it seemed that the princess liked him too. But the king said that the boy has a secret, so ask him. One day, the princess put on her best clothes to meet the boy and seduce if he wanted to whisper his secret, then the princess will kiss him. However, because the princess continued to the force, the boy finally slapped her so hard that the princess' nose blade soaked her genitals. The king of Magyar, who knew about it, was very angry and ordered all the stone punchers to create a prison with only a small window to imprison the boy. But secretly the princess asked the mason to make a small hole in the tower the size of a bottle of wine and food. Every morning the princess delivered food through the hole, and every 3 days the king asked his secretary to see if the boy was dead. But the secretary always brought back reports that he was fat and rosy. The king was surprised and thought this was a miracle. One day a messenger from the Sultan came with a letter to the king, and also 3 sticks. If you could not tell him which of these 3 sticks grew close to the root, which was in the middle and which was above, he would declare war on you. The king was terrified when he heard this, and even though he took out a staff and examined it carefully, he could not see the difference between them. His daughter Unos tried to claim her father. Then he ran to the tower and told the young man what had happened. The young man told him to go to sleep, and when you wake up, tell your father that you dreamed that the stick must be put in warm water. After a while, a person will sink to the bottom. It is what grows close to the roots. What does not sink and does not come to the surface is a stick cut from the middle and that floats from above. The next morning, the princess told her father about her dream, and at his suggestion, she cut knots in each of the sticks when she got them out of the water so that she didn't make a mistake when she handed them back to the messengers. And he was also successful because then there was no news of war from the Sultan. The following year, the Sultan again sent another messenger to him with three foals, asking him to tell which animals were born in the morning, which were during the day, and which were at night. If an answer is not ready in 3 days, war will be declared immediately. The king's heart broke when he read the letter. The princess returned to the young man, and the young man ordered him to go home and, when night fell, pretend to scream in your sleep so that your father can hear you. Then tell him that you have dreamed that he was just taken by the Turks because he could not answer the question about the fall. Still then I ran and was able to answer, the young man said. After the princess did what the young man ordered, then the king destroyed the prison tower and freed the young man to be able to give an answer. First, you must bring me three truths, all exactly alike. Into one you must put oats, into another wheat, and into the third barley. The fowl which eats the oats is that which was foaled in the morning. The fowl which eats the wheat is the which was foaled at noon, and the fowl which eats the barley is that which was foaled at night. The king followed the youth's direction, and marking the foal, sent them back to the Turkey, and there was no war that year. The Sultan was very angry and learned from the witch that the one who answered the riddle was a young man who would become king if he was left alive. Then the Sultan sent another letter that if the young man who was now at the palace was not sent to Turkey within 3 days, a large army would cross the border. Finally, the young man and the king arranged a strategy to find two young men who were twins, and then the young man would paint himself with masks that were exactly like their face. They immediately depart for the Sultan's palace, and when they got there, they were immediately brought before him. He asked them about their journey. They answered all his questions together, and in the same words. If one sits down for dinner, the other sits at the same time. When one wakes up, the other also woke up, as if there was only one body between them. The Sultan could not detect any difference between them, and he told his aunt that he would not be so cruel as to kill the three of them. At night, the witch sneaked into the three boys' room and made a smaller tear in the sleeve of one of the boys as a sign to be killed. But the three young men found out and they made the same ribs on their slate. The next morning at breakfast, the Sultan began to get bored with which and then freed the three young men. But one day a new letter came from the Sultan, saying that he had found that the young man was a very dangerous man and that he should be sent to the Turkey immediately and alone. The princess was very sad and worried, and the young man assured that everything would be all right. The next morning, the young man departed as he crossed the threshold. 15 armed Turks blocked his way, with the Sultan on their heads. Instantly, the sword shot forward and cut off the heads of everyone except the Sultan, and then silently returned to its scabbard. The sorcerer, seeing that as long as the young man had a sword, all of his plan would be in vain, and tried to steal the sword at night. But the sword simply jumped out of its scabbard and cut its nose, which is made of iron. And in the morning, when the Sultan brought a large army to catch the young man and draw his sword, they were all dismembered, while he remained unscathed. The princess, who was desperate, tried to pick up the young man with the royal troops, and not even 1 mile of their journey to meet the young man safely. The princess was happy, and in the end of King married them so that the young man ascended the throne and became king of Hungary. That the young man met his mother and said, "Beloved mother, you must hear my secret at last. I dreamed that I had become king of Hungary, and my dream came true when I was child, and you begged me to tell you I had to shut up, or the taking of Magyars would kill me. And if you don't beat me, nothing will happen, and I shouldn't be the king of Hungary." That's all. Thank you.